right. Turtle Powell and John Paul Lucero backing in the box. Joe Verastegui and Mickey Gomez have the lead in the round with a 5-7.
Yeah, you know, Joe Verastegy's had a terrible week this week, and Turtle Powell hasn't been much better. Maybe they can pull it off in the 10th round and make something work here. You know, but you hate to go home from the national finals being blanked or just winning a little bit, but it happens. There's times you can't do anything about it, but carrying that momentum into the building to the winner, I look at it two ways. One, the guy that wins nothing out here or very little is really ready to go and focus. Or two, the guy that wins the most out here is ready to go on, but it can work the other way.
Yeah, it can. It's however you want to handle it. It's such a mental game. Everybody knows in this sport, your mind, you can win a lot or lose a lot just right upstairs so many times.
We're going to pay out $500,000 in each event. You got to think you're going to get a pretty good chunk of that. It's disappointing to go home $3,000, $5,000. Crown Royal World Standing, Speed Williams. Well, that's about all you can say. Speed Williams, when you look at him, he put on a show after a slow start here at the national finals. When he started catching them, Rich Skelton, his partner, sealed the deal, and these guys have won $148,000. And they have clinched their 3rd consecutive World Championships. And congratulations to those guys. They're just chasing the money, no pressure on them this afternoon.
You know, and that won't be enough for Speedy. He'll be trying to be 3-7 today. You just watch. He wants that record.
You know, there is a race going on, though, in this event. It's the average race. The guys that are the fastest on all 10, of course, Charles Pogan, Brett Buckus, and Jimmy Tanner and Brad Culpepper. There's just about 0.7 of a second separating these guys. So if you can't win a world title, I guess the average buckle out of here is the next best thing.
Oh, this team right here finished 2nd in the average last year. They take the lead in the go-around at the moment with a 4-5. Well, on a couple of occasions, the guy on the right there, Bobby Hurley, has left the national finals as the world champion. Happened in 1993 and 1995, and he's roping with an old partner of Joe Beavers, Monty Joe Petska.
You know, Monty and Bobby, they haven't had that great a week. They 4 seconds finally last night, won a little bit. They're going to get paid a big check, though, for showing up all week. The team roping has been real light in the average. It can happen that way. It's a partnership deal. 2 guys have to rope good. 2 horses have to work good, much less the steer cooperate. But, you know, just for catching everything and being consistent and not getting no times, they might walk out here with $21,000, $25,000 just today.
You know, they're number 3 in the average, but the number 2 team is 33 seconds ahead of these guys. So there'll be no move, but they want to just maintain that 3rd spot, like Joe said, $21,000 if you can win 3rd in the average in the team roping, a little over that.
It won't be a move unless one of those other teams are no time, and we've seen that happen here before. And look, Bobby's a little late. He's just going to go catch. And money says Monty catches when it's just a money situation. He's got 40 cents of the first dollar he ever won.
6-3, slips a leg, turns into an 11-3. Well, T. Woolman and Tyler Magnus going while we were looking at the world standings. Here's what happened.
They make a nice run. Watch Tyler's got his hand in that dally right there. I bet he was glad to get a flag.
He was wanting a quick flag.
Well, 4-5, so they now are tied for the lead with Chance Kelton and Brent Lockett. Out of David Moats and Bobby Harris.
You know, here's a team that wrote real good all week until I think the 8th go-around. David hickeyed a horn, and foul head catch took them out of the average race. They were still placing good on 9. Now, here comes the miss. They're going to have to just catch to hope they keep the spot in the average. You know, and this puts Bobby Harris in a bad position just to catch. Oh, he about loses his rope. Bad went to worse, didn't it?
29-2 when it's all said and done. Penalties are added in, so at the moment, a couple of teams splitting 4-5 in the round, but hey, when we come back, we'll see the defending and new world champions. Still the average to be decided, also a $13,000 first place check in this go-around. Here are the guys that are number 1 in the average, Jimmy Tanner and Brad Culpepper.
You know, these guys just quietly roped their way to about a $30,000 week this week, and now they got a chance to win the average. They're 7/10 ahead of Charles Pogue and them. Good clean run. They're going to be hard to beat, but they can be beat. They're 5.8. Charles and them have a chance, but not a very good chance to get them in the average.
Well, they were, what we figure out, 0.7 of a second behind these guys, so they're going to have to be, what, 5-1 or better to beat them, which they can be that.
Yes, they can.
It'll be good.
Arena record, 3.8 seconds. Gellerman and Buckus set it in 1995. Williams and Skelton equaled that this year, or last year actually. And now Matt Tyler and Corey Kuntz get set. These guys, pretty high expectations at the start of the National Finals Rodeo. They're always a pretty tough team.
You know, they really are. They rode good. Corey's rode good this week. Matt got a barrier that's going to cost him part of the go-around there today. You know, you talked about that 3.8. With $70,000 in the bank, I'm going to say Speedy's going for the 3.7 today.
Next in the box, Richard Aguirre and Bucky Campbell.
You know, I saw Richard in there tonight, the Justin Healer room, and the other night when he lost his rope, he really burned his hand. He was trying to stay in that average. Him and Bucky roped good all week. I think that's the first mistake we've seen Bucky make all week. And it's not a mistake, he just got a leg. Bucky's really roped well this week. Watch right here. Bucky's got good position on this steer. He tries him. The steer doesn't come out of the ground just like he wanted to. He kind of was trotting instead of hopping. Caused him to get the outside leg and may cost him some go-around money.
If they rope the steer 5.1 seconds.
Well, now to Charles Pogue and Britt Buckus about the midway point of the National Finals. It looked like these guys were in the driver's seat, but who knew that Speed Williams and Rich Skelton were going to come out and win so many go-arounds and once again just put so much distance between themselves and the pack that the average wasn't going to make much difference.
You know, these guys are going for the average win, though. If they're 5-1 or better,
boy, oh boy.
Britt doesn't get him caught, this could hurt him. I think they're still probably going to win second in the average, but Charles was really going at the win. He went to try to win first.
Yeah, they have over 30 seconds to win second. They'll stay second, but yeah, like you said, Charles, I think he just heard he shot right there. Maybe one more swing, he'd have cleaned it up, but they had to be 5-1 to win the average, and that's what they were trying to do.
You can't knock him for trying to win first.
No.
Charles reached a little bit at him. Britt didn't have a very good throw, but hey, if you send that ship out empty, you might see it come back full.
Well, that'll still mean almost $27,000 for them in the average.
Yeah, you add that to what they've already won. That's a $60,000 NFR. Not a bad way to spend a week in Vegas.
Sure, and now Steve Frisella and Wayne Fulmer.
Here's another team rode really good this week. Wayne's first trip to the finals, he showed everybody that he was meant to be here, and you can see right there, this guy's for real.
6 seconds flat. Still a two-way tie at the top. 4.5 is the time. Chance Kelton and Brent Lockett. Also T. Woolman and Tyler Magnus.
See right here, Steve gets a steer by the neck. He comes out kind of trashy. Wayne smartly just waits him out. There's one team left. He knows if he's under 6 something, he's going to win 6 at the worst. So why not get a little money on Sunday afternoon? But there's also 2 in the wings that can make your 6 flat look pretty bad.
Boy, there's one guy that can do it too. Alan Bach, 3-time world champion, getting set to ride in. He and his partner Daniel Green won the regular season, qualified for the NFR on the top spot. 4th in the average at the moment, 2nd in the world standings.
You know, here's another team that just really didn't get their roll going this week. They started off kind of bad, it got worse, it got better, then it got bad again. You know, but these guys are deadly. They could just as easily win the last go-around and go with a lot of momentum into the building. Daniel's going to take a shot at him. If Big Al cleans this up, they're going to win money today. They're 5-2. They're going to get some of it anyway.
Yeah, it's going to put them in 3rd place at the moment. Well, just like 1998, Speed Williams and Rich Skelton went out of the average in the first go-around. Since then, they have won 5 go-arounds. They're moving up in the average, but the big story is they've won $148,000, and nobody can catch them in round number 10. And like Joe Beaver said, yep, 3.8 seconds is the arena record. They've got part of it, but you can bet that Speed Williams, he'd like to add to his growing money total, and $13,000 would be exactly what he'd love to see.
You know, he's got the cake already. You can bet he's thinking about putting some icing on it right now. And they have a chance to move up in the average even if they're really fast, and they're not worried about that right now. Speedy Williams wants that record. He's got Rich pumped up over there. I think I even saw Rich blink once. He's really ready today.
There's what they need to beat in this go-around, 4.5 seconds. Couple of teams with that. Boy, who would imagine you could win back-to-back world
Here
championships?
Here goes the record. Here goes the record.
Oh, man. But a go-around, 13,000. That's a little icing.
Huh?
Well, like Mickey G, if you're going to go out, might as well go out in fashion. 4 seconds flat. They're going to win the go-around.
Boy, look how quick he gets it on him. And he has done it every night.
He really has. You know, that steer hit kind of bad the first top. Rich just had to really put a big loop under him, make sure he wins the day money. That was a great finish for a great couple guys right there, let me tell you.
Can you imagine winning back-to-back world championships with no average money involved at all?
No, I can't. I mean, I can't imagine coming back as strong as they've come back 2 years in a row without an average check. Those guys live by the blitz. They die by the blitz. They live good by the blitz this year again.
I'll tell you, when they get on track, they are unbelievable. So that's going to make 6 go-arounds now that they win out of 10 at the national finals.
Can you imagine winning 6 out of 10 go-arounds? I mean, that's first. That is a high percentage deal.
Now their standings more than $160,000 for the year. Their 3rd straight world